soft launch at the DC Pen Show, and they sold a number of these. Only 65 were made, and there could be more in the future, but those will have to be different. This first version has some features in it that won't be in any of the other ones. You might be able to tell from the logo here, maybe not, that this is Magna Carta. But there's something different about this Magna Carta. You can tell that there's some whiskers and a nose. Yes, it's a cat. In fact, this is the Cheshire Cat. This pen is the Magna Carta MST, and it was designed by my buddy Neil, who's also known as WastedPaper. Check out his channel. I'll put a link right up here for you if you want to go and check out, see his stuff. And I'll also put a link in the show notes for purchasing this item. It's an affiliate link that helps out his channel and also gives you a 10% discount on this product. There is an initial price, I believe, which is going to be lower than after the launch is over. He spent months working on this, including the packaging, and as you can tell, it looks like a book. I think that's really clever. Gold foil, kind of a textured relief pattern here that really feels like paper, on the edge of a book. On the spine it says Wasted Paper, Adventures and Fictions, #1. And this is a Hatch project. If you're not familiar with Hatch, it's a way that EndlessPens marries designers with a pen maker, and together they come up with a new limited edition pen, or sometimes inks or notebooks and such. And it's a really great program. That you can see some really unique items there. Some of them sell out really quickly and some of them not so much, but you can imagine that would be the case. All right, so back to the pen. I'm going to open up the box and see what we've got inside. Inside is not a story, but there is a bottle of Cheshire ink here. This is optional. I think the additional price here is about $12, I think, for this bottle of bottle of ink. I purchased another bottle of ink with this pen, and it was a wine-colored ink, so that's why I said I'm not a lush. It's wearing gold, and I have not used this one, so I went ahead and I purchased this. We'll give that a shot with the pen. It's designed to work with the pen, or the pen and the ink are very closely matched. So we'll just set this aside. There's nothing else in the box. Here we have Magna Carta EndlessPens exclusive, and this is a foil relief. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, Caliwampus like that, but it's a little interesting that it would be that way. But maybe there's a point to that I don't understand. I'm going to put this out there that there are Easter eggs all over, not just the packaging, but the actual pen, that people who are in the know will know. And so I'm not going to point any of these out. For those of you who decide to purchase this pen, I'll let you do the discovery, so no spoilers for me on this. Magna Carta, typical Magna Carta box. I have another one that looks very close to this. The standard Magna Carta logo here. No whiskers, no nose, but you can imagine that having it printed on the box would be very expensive. And then the Magna Carta script is also embossed in gold leaf. It's kind of a textured feel here that is reminiscent of maybe a canvas. It's some sort of a vinyl though. Okay, and inside we have the pen, and I will set this aside for a second. It also includes a warranty card slash owner identification card, which has been filled out and signed by Neil himself. This is really great because this is the way you should receive a pen, with the warranty card filled out by the vendor. So, very cool. Other than that, there's nothing else in the box. There's no instructions on how to fill it or anything like that. Set this aside as well, and we can get into the pen. Actually, I'm going to remove the pen from the plastic pen sleeve. And I did an unboxing of this the day after I got it, which was on the 1st. Weren't supposed to release any videos on that, but it turns out that my recording of that was toast. As you can tell, things have changed here. I've got a different lens, I have a different microphone setup, I have a bunch of different things going on. The colors will look different. I'm hoping that this all looks better than it did before, and we can get in and see some more detail. But I wasn't able to post that, so I'm doing a full review this time. And wow. So this is a stacked resin, and as I mentioned, this is Magna Carta pen. The Magna Carta M600 is kind of the base model for this, but there's been some changes. The clip is different, and in fact, let me pull out a new. This is the M650, which is a gold spot exclusive, and this is the MST, which is an Endless Pen exclusive. In fact, the MST is just this one pen. There aren't any other colorways of the MST, but it is different than the 650 or the 600. First of all, let's start at the top. The MST has a medallion that has the Cheshire Cat / Magna Carta logo at the top, and this one here just doesn't have anything. Another thing that Neil really wanted to do was change the way the clip is, making sure that the clip got sandwiched in between the resin there, and he hit it spot on. Whereas this one here, it's kind of like they added it up at the top, and where you get, your end is kind of random. So mine looks like it's black, but it's actually one of the stacks here. This to me looks like kind of an afterthought. We need to cover that up with something, and then it's not the same diameter as the rest of the cap. It's just, I thought that was kind of, seemed unfinished. Whereas this, it's so smooth, you can't even feel any transition between the clip band and the resin. This resin is also a different stacking than they have used in anything else. The thicknesses of the layers, I believe, are different. Obviously, the materials are different because I've never seen this combination before. And the theme is Cheshire Cat, if I haven't mentioned that. Continuing on, though, the clip here is different than the M650, and I believe also different than the M600. There is the little roller here at the end, which I call the Italian roller because it's on almost every Italian pen. It doesn't really roll though, which I think is too bad. I think they should have polished the edges of the little spindle in the middle there or something. But I imagine this will still, not catch on clothing. I think it'll still do the job. It's also a little bit bigger than typical, but I don't know what the effect of that would be. I also think that the edges of the band are a little bit on the sharp side, and they probably should have polished those down a little bit and given it a more finished feel. Okay, but moving on, we have on the band, here it says, let me get this out, established 2014, which is Magna Carta, and then here it just says Magna Carta. There is a long line that goes between the two, so it's kind of a little flourish there. That looks nice. And on the back, it says first edition. Now, as I mentioned before, more of these pens might come out in the future, but they won't include first edition, obviously. They might not even include second edition. That's something that's just reserved for this. And down here we have two bands, and these bands are solid all the way across, but it is perfectly sized to take the space of two of the stacks. So it finishes in there really nicely, and that is something that is not included on the 650 or the 600, as you can tell. But the band is, and the bands are nearly identical. They're the same widths, but this doesn't have established 2014 on it. And the newer ones might. This is about a year old. Okay, continuing down, we have more stripes. I'm not going to count them, but you probably should if you're interested in finding Easter eggs. Then we have another band down here. This is not a blind cap, it's just basically a finial. On this band here is, I think there's nothing printed here. No, nothing's printed there. And then at this end, we just have a slightly chamfered flat finial. Okay, now let's open it up. It uncaps in 1 and 2 and a half turns, I believe. Oh, 2 3/4 turns. All right, look at how long this grip section is. I really appreciate it when pens have a long grip section. It just makes, adjusting your grip when you're doing long writing sessions more comfortable. You can move your fingers and they don't have to be locked into a particular position. There are threads up here, starting around here, and they are, well, first of all, they're out of the way. I mean, they're so far up from the lip. By the way, it is slightly tapered with a gradual flare towards the end. I won't call that a lip, that's more of a flare. And then one of the signatures of the 6 series is the flex nib, and we'll take a look at that. I haven't inked this pen up, so when I do so, you'll see it for the first time, and you'll see the writing sample for this the first time. Let's take a look and see if there's any differences in the nibs. They appear to be identical. And it has the heart-shaped breather hole. This is a cartridge converter pen. Friction fit. And I believe this is a Schmidt. Yes, this is a genuine Schmidt converter, international standard. And then another thing that's changed about this pen here is the shape of the body, and I'm going to just separate these out so you can see the differences side by side. The 650 has a girthier body section, and while this one is more tapered like a tail, one of the advantages of that is, let me show you this. cap it, it goes way down, whereas with this one here, it doesn't go down as far and doesn't feel as secure. It also gives a longer pen with not as great balance. So I think that is a really great addition. And I believe this is an ebonite feed and a number 6 size nib. Magna Carta makes their own nibs and feeds. In fact, they are used by a few others, especially their gold ones. Let's do a filling, size comparison, measurements, Okay, that's it for the Magna Carta MST writing sample. When I first started here, I noticed that it was a lot more flexible than I remembered it, and I'm going to have to go back to my old one and see if there's been some changes in the nib design. I did notice a little bit of I'm not sure if you can catch it on the camera here, but through the reflection you can kind of see there's sort of not a crease, but there's a bend right around this zone here that goes all the way across that may have some function in increasing the flexibility of the nib. It is very, very flexy, and I have used one with this amount of flex in it before, including the 650, but it did catch me kind of off guard here at the top, the amount of flex, and you can see that my legibility is below par there. The line width variation is just outstanding for a modern nib. You can see here that I started out and I could have probably made that even lighter with a lighter touch. The horizontals, not so much, but you don't really expect those because the tines aren't, even if the tines are spreading out, they are spreading out in the same line this way here, not increasing their distance on this axis here. So you don't really expect to see much there. The diagonals all felt roughly the same. There was, some slight differences there, but with a flex nib, I was kind of expecting it to kind of skip and kind of flick across the page, and it didn't do that at all. It performed really well there. And you can tell in the S curves here, that really did highlight the line width variation. I think this is better for larger writing, not so good for small characters. The ink flow is really good. I don't think I would change that at all, with one caveat, which I'll get to here in a second. There was no ink starvation or change of the ink volume that came out of it during the horizontal lines here. And same thing for the reverse writing. The line width is not that much finer for the reverse writing, which is kind of interesting. Wasn't expecting that, but maybe that has something to do with the way the tipping material has been ground for the flexing. The characters probably should be much larger than I've done here, and obviously I was cramping the space at the beginning here and really needed to spread out, and you can see how inconsistent I am on the top line, but starting to find my pace on the second line here, and given a lot more time I would be able to master this. I did some fast writing here, and unfortunately and kind of surprisingly it starved. I tried doing it a couple times here, I tried doing it a couple times here, and there was no ink coming out. I even tried doing the uninterrupted loops down here, and they didn't produce any ink either. So I wound up opening it up and giving the little plunger here about a quarter of a turn until a drop of ink came out, and it started working fine after that. Now, I have cleaned this, at least the nib end section, in the ultrasonic cleaner before this demo here, but I haven't made any other changes to this pen. As I mentioned, this is the first time I put any ink in it. What you're seeing is what I got out of the box. Once I did get that drop of ink out, no problems at all. I think this might just be kind of a new pen woe. I imagine that's not going to be something that's going to be a consistent problem in the future. I felt the section was very comfortable. I wasn't aware of it the entire time. As I said, it's very postable. I feel like the balance is just fine with it posted. I don't usually feel that about a lot of pens. I typically don't use pens posted, but this one I would have no problem with using it that way. In fact, it's quite attractive that way, so I might do that. I was just on a flight and trying to figure out what to do with my pen cap while I was writing on the plane. It's a little bit of an issue. I didn't want to lose it. Being in Colorado, we have a lot of bumps. I didn't want it falling on the floor and rolling to the back of the plane. It would be nice to have been able to post my pen there. This one here wouldn't have that problem at all. Okay, so this is a EndlessPens exclusive. And in the show notes, I have Neil's affiliate link. And like I said, it gives you 10% off if you're interested in this pen. There are 2 other colorways. I don't know what Neil's involvement was with the designs of that, but they came out at roughly the same time, and I think they're also being released at the same time. All of these pens have been inspected by Neil himself. He's done a writing test with them, and when you get them, you should probably give out at least a rinse. Alright, I'm not asking for anything for this video, just if you are interested in purchasing this pen, then go use Neil's affiliate link down below. It gives you 10% off and helps him out a little bit. Thanks for watching. Please give it a like if you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing. Also, on our Patreon, we're doing some giveaways. We're only 2 more Patreon subscribers away from giving away another pocket pen. And these are really nice pocket pens, up to $200. So consider joining that as well. Thanks for watching, and be well.